We're back here on the lobby, and so are video games. It's January 2015. There's some video games coming out this year. Did you know that? We're going to talk about some of the best ones that are coming out, or what we think will be the best ones.
That was a great transition.
Was it really good? Is that all right?
We're back, and so are video games.
Video games are back. I hope.
After a brief hiatus.
They're back in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, exactly.
Not quite yet.
Tomorrow's I'm sorry, next week, H1Z1. That's the first start. That's the start of the big ones.
Does that not come out yet?
No.
Wow. I thought Splatoon was coming out. I was spending like all the yesterday saying, don't worry guys, Splatoon's out in January. Splatoon's out in like March or something.
I was wondering why you were making all the Splatoon jokes.
Yeah.
I was like, what?
It's because I bought a Wii U last month.
It seemed very timely at the time.
I've become that guy now. I got a Wii U and I can't fucking shut up talking
Hey,
about
you guys
Wii
seen
games.
this Mario Kart?
Yeah,
you hear about
it's
this
really
Mario
good.
Kart coming out?
It's really good.
Yeah, it's really good.
It's all your favorite Mario people, but they drive cars now.
Big, a big deal. They put that Zelda in there.
It's got pink gold peach.
Yeah.
She's my favorite. I want to talk to you about the order, sir.
Okay.
We went to the PlayStation Experience.
Yeah. Whoa. DX.
Xbox was there.
Yeah.
It was great. So was
He was
China.
Bronco busting Shuhei Yoshida in the corner.
Wouldn't have been surprised. He's now in Super Time Force, so anything's
Right.
possible.
Right, yeah.
So one of the games that's coming out this year, pretty soon actually, is The Order
February.
1866.
Yeah.
Nope.
Nope.
1886.
1886. Yeah, I should know that. Year I was born, minus 100. I have like real grave concerns about this game. I think it's
Yeah, there's
like,
a lot to be concerned about.
it's super, like from what I've played, it's very quick time heavy. Like I think more so than what comes across to people.
Sure.
What do you think about it? Because you're kind of more on the positive side.
I started with like, oh, this game's gonna be. Like, Colin went and saw it, right? He came back and was like, it does not run well. Do not be excited. I was like, what? Ready Dawn's great, right? So like right there, I'm at rock bottom. I'm at bedrock on my expectations. And then so often it creeps up because somebody comes back and goes like, oh, this happened that. I thought the werewolf fight they showed at E3 was cool. And so then to actually sit down and play it, I had problems. I think the camera's too tight. I couldn't find things like super, like you just like you take a left kind of thing. You know,
Yeah.
you're like running. It's like, well, how do I advance? And I'm running around the map trying to find it. And then eventually I saw it, and I was like, oh, okay. It seems like it'll be a cool narrative. You know what I mean? Like I like the setting. I like what they're doing. It's beautiful. Do I think it's going to change or revolutionize gaming in any way? No. You know what I mean? Like it's goofy. I don't. The QuickTime thing doesn't bog me down in terms of if it's fun to get through. Then that's my big question, right? Is they show these awesome set pieces. You know, you're coming down the Hindenburg pretty much or whatever.
Yeah.
And you get in there, and the stealth kills when they were working were really cool. And then when I was getting discovered, I was like, well, this sucks.
Yeah,
but-
because when you get discovered, it literally shows an animation of you getting hit in the head.
Yeah.
Like there's no even like gameplay happening there. Essentially, it's like
telling you a story,
It's
Danny.
analog. It's
Yeah.
like kill him or don't, and then reset.
It's like it's somewhere between a Telltale game and
Yeah,
then like
kinda.
Gears of War. There's like the break in there.
Yeah.
It's like a Resident Evil 5 steampunk Victorian style.
Yeah, it's a
Man,
weird.
are you trying to sell me on it or not?
Is it? I don't know.
If you're gonna try to
You
sell
saying
someone
this
on a
game
game,
is like
don't-
real racist or something?
Don't say Resident Evil 5. You're trying to sell a game to someone. No, I think I saw The Order back in just about a year ago when they revealed it behind closed doors,
Okay.
and I came back and wrote my piece, and I'm like, this game's in, like Greg said, I'm like, this game's in really bad shape, and because they had revealed it at the E3 before, and then at Gamescom they basically just showed like a tech demo of the game kind of running, and I remember being frustrated because even with my interview, they just showed the trailer the first time, like behind closed doors. I'm like, I already seen this, and then I had to spend my time being like, is it a third-person shooter or a first-person shooter? And they're like, it's a third-person shooter. I'm like, all right, is it
It's like a game of Guess Who.
Yeah.
And they're like, yeah, and they're like, all right, time's up. And I'm like, all right, so like, yeah, like in other words, they could have just shown the game.
Yeah.
But I think that The Order is an interesting kind of case study in the fact that the game was in poor shape when I saw it, and a lot of people were mad at me for saying that. And then they saw it when they released the videos, and they saw that the game was chugging and just didn't seem that good. And then every time we've seen it since then, it's gotten better and better and improved. Like the extra time they got to finish the game, I think is gonna pay off. I thought when we played a PSX for like 40 minutes or whatever that it was a lot of fun. I don't think it's gonna, like Greg said, I don't think it's a game changer. I don't think this game's gonna be like amazing. I just, I'm excited about it. And I think the thing that people need to walk away from it thinking is that the game's incredibly cinematic. Like I think the production value of the game is super high.
It looks incredible.
It does, and the voice acting is awesome. I think the story is really interesting. The fusion of, the guys over there are really obsessed with alternate history, which I am too, and I think that the fusion of things that should be in 1886 but really weren't, like a Zeppelin, which doesn't belong there, it makes sense because they've done such a nice job of making that world. And so I think everything surrounding the gameplay is pretty good. Whether or not the game pans out, it remains to be seen.
When does it actually release?
February. Yeah.
16th maybe?
Totally forgotten by the end of the year.
Yeah,
Oh yeah,
probably.
totally.
Yeah,
no one will
you're
be
right.
talking about it by the end of the year.
one of
The interesting thing our friend Vince over at IGN pointed out on the Beyond at PSX was the fact that His concern is that from what they've shown, there's no rhythm to the gameplay.
Yeah.
Right? You have the part we played where we infiltrate the Zeppelin, sure. Then there's this weird on rails running from the werewolf, you're shooting at him. Then there's the other, and it's just like, what is this game? And is every segment, even though it's cinematic, you get dropped into, is it going to be, you have to get a new tutorial on what you're doing and how you're doing it?
Because every one of them has been that.
Yeah, exactly.
We'll see.
Yeah.
We're not too
Is
far away
that your
from
main
knowing.
concern?
My main concern is that it's the areas in which it looks like there's like open gameplay, like for instance that stealth part.
Yeah.
I think you can show that on a trailer and it looks like one game, but when you're sitting there playing it, it's
That makes
actually a
sense.
totally different one. So I think it's more of a kind of a perception thing. I don't think it's perhaps a bad game, but I wonder if people
It's
will
not
know
what
what
people think
type
it's
of
gonna
game
be.
it is when
Yeah,
it comes
yeah,
out.
that makes sense.
Another game that slipped into 2015, The Witcher. It's out on April 19th. The third game. Have any of you guys played the old ones? Because I cannot wait for this one. And I've never touched The Witcher 1
the
and
same
2.
way.
That's the movie with me.
Yeah,
too.
no, that's the thing is like fantasy is always hard for me to get into, this high fantasy stuff. And every trailer they've shown and all the combat they've shown, I'm like, all right, I think I'm gonna get into this one and actually really dig it. Like Skyrim, right?
Yeah.
Those standout games where something different about it jumps in. But yeah, I feel like such a hack saying it. I'm like, can't wait for Witcher 3. And I'm like, I've never played Witcher 1 or 2. I don't know. I mean, and I hear they're really complicated and really dense. But I'm
That's
like,
what's so exciting about
awesome.
it.
Yeah, that sounds great.
Yeah, The Witcher 2 definitely. I played about 60% of it, and
cool.
it got to the point where I just had. You had to put a lot of energy into it to get out, from combat and stuff like that, and sort of to get to the point where I felt proficient. But it's also pretty tough. But that can feed you, that can come back at you, and it hit the point where I was like, a little low energy. Something else came along, I went to play it. But what fascinates me and what is so wonderful about The Witcher is the world.
Yeah.
And I didn't play The Witcher 2 because everyone was really raving about it. I wasn't excited to play it because of that. It was because I have a Polish friend who has read all the Witcher books and is always telling me about like how this is like this crazy like half fairy tale, half medieval, half magical, but like totally vulgar and like adult like whole world. It was just so intriguing to me, and I think the games really replicate that really well. And you go see a dwarf in The Witcher, and it's not like a dwarf in The Lord of the Rings who's like, I'm a hardy under the mountain folk. They are like dropping F-bombs and like down at the whorehouse all day, like just like this. It just busts those sort of genre conventions all over the place, and it makes it feel fresh, even if you're not kind of that normal fantasy aficionado.
Yeah. Two games, I guess, that are coming out in relatively quick succession, in Q1 at least. One we've only seen just recently, Uncharted 4: Thieves' End, hopefully coming out this year.
They say 2015.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Yeah, that was one of my predictions. I don't think it actually hits in 2015.
Game Informer had the cover for February.
Yeah.
They put out a little video today on the site as well, sort of explaining that one of the things that came out of PSX, I guess, where people were like, okay, they've learned some lessons from The Last of Us. Perhaps the tone of Uncharted is going to shift in that direction.
Yeah.
It wasn't just you shooting dozens and dozens of people, like, it was trying to like unarm people and whatnot.
That section could have been you shooting dozens and
Yeah,
dozens
exactly.
of
You
people.
could easily turn it on your AK, and that's the end of that.
Excited for 4? You played
my
much of
God,
it?
yes.
Yeah, we're big Uncharted fans here. Uncharted 3 for life, perfect 10. I don't care who says it.
Yeah, I mean, we're both in the Uncharted 3 is better than 2 camp, which is a weird place to
Yeah.
be. But
What about
yeah,
Mass Effect 3?
Mass Effect 2 is better.
Mass Effect
Okay.
2 is probably. I mean, they're all.
You're not crazy then.
All right, good. Okay, good. I'm glad we have the
Those are
bellwether
all.
tests.
Both of those trilogies share the same thing, which is that they're both awesome.
Yeah.
Like front to back, and Drake's a special character. I think that Naughty Dog's clearly a very special studio. I would often say that they've shown that at least right now they're the best studio in the world. The Last of Us I gave a 10 to. Greg gave Uncharted 3 a 10. A lot of people felt similarly, I think, to those games, especially The Last of Us. They have a lot to live up to. The exciting thing about this is that even though Amy's gone, who I think is probably the heart and soul of the series, and these are obviously her characters, Neil and Bruce are very astute game designers, very astute producers of games. They were very responsible for Uncharted 2's success, which people forget. They made Uncharted 2 and then made The Last of Us, while Uncharted 3 guys were working on Uncharted 3 and then Uncharted 4. So I think there's every reason to be excited about it. Greg always says I was elbowing him in his ribs the entire time at PSX.
Are you effing seeing this? He kept saying. Well, that was the other one. But yeah, I mean, the game looks amazing,
Yeah,
right?
it's
And what I
awesome.
keep talking about is the fact that as a huge Uncharted fan, I'm sure they're going to figure out a better way to say it, but because it looks like nonstop action. It looks like no animation's safe.
Yeah.
Because in the old days, right, you'd grab somebody, throw them over the cliff, and then you'd watch them fall. Whereas this, when you grab the guy, throw him, and then he grabs onto your leg, you got to fight him off, and like, I'm going to choke this guy. He pulls out his gun, and now you're frantically trying to get away. It's like, there's not even those little moments of rest. They want everything to be going and action-oriented.
The series I want Uncharted to learn from is not The Last of Us, though. I want it to learn from Tomb Raider,
Yeah.
the most recent
Yeah.
one.
Yeah.
I think the way that did exploration and the way that it felt like I was in this wild place, like trying to figure it out.
Right.
Like Uncharted, you know, for all its virtues, you're on a path.
Yeah.
Right? And so I'd love to see Nathan Drake trying to, like, you're trying to figure it out. You're in a bigger space. You got a little more freedom. There's a little bit more to do than just like go to the place.
Go to the place and then look for shinies.
And also the way that death is handled in Tomb Raider. Like when you like die environmentally in that, it is brutal.
Yeah.
And
tree limbs through your mouth.
Oh my god! And then you just like, and then you watch.
Yeah.
It doesn't cut away when the tree limb goes through your mouth. You're sitting there like,
exactly.
I kind of want, you know, if they take a grittier tone, like you're saying from The Last of Us, I'd like to see that, come from Tomb Raider as well.
Yeah, I hope that we were talking about this not too long ago in the sense that I hope that they don't take the tone, obviously, from The Last of Us. I mean, I think a lot of people are scared of that. I like the pulpy, like, kind of, like, ridiculousness of Uncharted, and those characters are very funny. There's a comedic undertone to these games that I think is a little understated. My personal opinion is that I hope they kind of don't change the formula. Like, no weapon upgrades, no non-linearity. No, like, it's just supposed to be an action movie. It is what it is.
RPG elements mixed in.
Exactly. Like, I don't, no crafting, like, none of that. Just like...
No co-op?
I feel like it's inevitable.
Well, they did it in the multiplayer mode before.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
They're going to have that multiplayer
That's fine,
mode
and it's there. But I wonder,
who better than his brother to
go
off with?
Yeah, exactly. Jesus Christ, you're scaring me now. But yeah, I think there's every reason to be optimistic about the game. I think that there's reasons to be pessimistic that it comes out this year. But hopefully they make it, because I mean, the beauty is that Sony owns all of these studios. Most of them are not. None of them are dormant. It's just that we don't know what they're doing.
Yeah.
And so that is supposed to be the fall slated game. And so you hope that they don't run into a similar problem that they did last year, where The Order was supposed to be their fall flagship, and they had to get pushed. And then Drive Club was the game that no one really was interested in to begin with, or a lot of people weren't. And then
they certainly weren't when it came out.
Yeah, exactly. So there's a lot unknown around that window.
One of the great things about Uncharted was that they showed us this massive chunk of gameplay. A game that's coming out this year from Remedy. I feel like Quantum Break is a game we actually haven't seen a lot of, even though they've shown like snippets. I think Gamescom was the first time we got to see it in action. Are you looking forward to it? I love Max Payne, but
exactly,
and I love Alan Wake.
Yeah,
but I haven't connected to this one yet.
See, they're a studio that knows what they're doing, and they're almost on that list of people. Like you just say Remedy, I'm like, okay, cool. I can't wait to see what you do. And like, sure, I'd love to see more gameplay, but the trailers are awesome with like the pieces of glass spinning around. Here, you actually see the gameplay part of it. I believe in Remedy. I believe, like, I'd love to see more, but then in the same breath, maybe I don't, because I believe in them already. What do I care?
Yeah.
Just get it out. You know, how many games are ruined by trailer after trailer after trailer, and you just get it, like, well, I remember this part, and I remember this part. Like, okay, let's see. What I'm more fascinated with is how the TV aspect plays into it,
yes. Right? Does it still as well? Because when Matrick was in charge, that was the drum they were banging on. Like, it's clearly not the case anymore.
Well, they've dialed it back, but I mean, they've clarified, I think, is the big thing, saying that the episodes are on the disc, right? Like, I think for most of us were thinking we'd have to play in sync with it when it was coming out, because they were pushing Xbox One entertainment and stuff like that. Now they're like, it's all there, it's there, you do your thing, and then you see it from that perspective. It's like, okay, that sounds neat.
Yeah.
But it just sounds also like a cutscene.
My worry, I hope that that's something that they actually are interested in doing themselves, and it wasn't just a provisor that Microsoft was saying, you know, like the sort of Ubisoft co-op stuff. Excited, looking forward to it at all?
Yeah, I think Quantum Break looks awesome. I think it's, you know, with Alan Wake's mystique late in the Xbox 360's life cycle, I think people are really interested in what these guys are going to do next. I agree with Greg that the talent at that studio is really, really high. So I think that game's going to be really promising. I'm just more interested in there being more, you know, I like that there are more Xbox One exclusives generally, as opposed to 360, where they had their you know, flagships and very little else. It was the difference, I think, maker between the way Xbox is perceived and the way PlayStation is perceived, where they have Halo and Gears, which are bigger than everything, but then Sony's like, well, we have smaller games that are out every month. And so it seems like Xbox is actually announcing more exclusives, which I think is actually exciting generally, beyond just Quantum Break.
Yeah. And there's loads of games coming out in 2015, but the last one I want to talk about today, Chris, you're intimately familiar with. February, at some stage, we're going to see Evolve.
Oh, yeah.
Finally.
Yeah, beta on Xbox One, like, next weekend?
Oh, really?
2 weekends, I think.
Excellent.
Anyways, I'm super into that game. We've had a chance to play it in the office a couple times, and there's like the lingering question. Like, I think no doubt like you play a match, you can see, or you watch a match at PAX on the big screen, you see how this game can create just incredibly exciting, tense things where, you know, get 4 people bonding together, or like the sheer joy of tearing everyone up as a monster. It's the longevity question, which is going to be really interesting because they have an unlock progression. You know, you're going to have to unlock all the different hunters, all the different monsters as you play. And they've talked only lately about some different modes. But what do you guys think? I mean, have you gotten a chance to play Evolve at all?
I haven't, because fundamentally, like we were talking about Evolve, like the very premise of Evolve to me is like, I don't want to do this.
Did you play Left 4 Dead?
A little bit, but again, it's like I would rather just put it in a game and just play it by myself.
What if you're the monster here? Because it's basically, you're playing this multiplayer game that's a co-op game, but you don't have to cooperate with anybody. You don't have to hear anybody talk. It might as well just be NPCs for all the interaction you're having with them.
That's a great point. It's just like, when people, because people are, at IGN were really banging the drum on this one as well, and they're really into it. And just knowing the premise of it, I was just like, it's just, I'd rather play Shovel Knight or something. So
I've played a lot of it, and it's one of those games that I play and I'm in the moment and I'm having so much fun with it. I'm like, I love being the monster. This is great, blah, blah, blah. And then I stop and I come back to wherever, tell somebody I like it a lot, and then weeks go by and I find myself not saying, God, I can't wait to play more Evolve. But then I get to an event and I do play Evolve and I'm like, this is great. So like longevity is the big thing for me too, is in terms of, is it gonna be something where it's like Mario Kart where I have one amazing weekend with it and then just like kind of forget about it? Or is it going to be that I wanna get back in and level up and do this? I don't have an answer.
And also, how much of that is the game design itself sort of reinforcing that, bringing you back, giving you new stuff to discover? And how much of it is the time in your life when it comes out and like what your gaming appetites are and who's available, who else among your friends gets it? Like, I feel like that's the other thing with these cooperative games is even if you are into them, even if you are, let's all get together, like I'd love to play that, there's so many other factors in terms of your own circumstance that can conspire to maybe make that just not be the best it can be.
I think them putting it out in February, like as early as possible, is really good. It reminds me of Burnout Paradise, which is a game where everyone was playing, and people who don't play driving games were playing because it came out in January when there was nothing else to play, and everyone was like, it was like an event almost. So perhaps the same will be true of Evolve. Some great games coming out in 2015. Thanks very much for coming on and talk to us about that and much more.